Hi, my name is Farah Green, and I just wanted to tell you how excited I was about meeting you this weekend at the clinic. But I thought I'd give you a little preview about me before I meet you this weekend. So here we go. One of the things I wanted to teach you about was what the difference between 20 degrees Fahrenheit and 20 degrees Celsius. So where I'm sitting is 20 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's Sydney, my puppy. And as you see, 20 degrees Fahrenheit, I have to wear different things. This is a hat. This is for when it's cold. This is snow. This happens at 20 degrees Fahrenheit. Now where you are, it's 20 degrees Celsius. So I just want to point out these details for you. Maybe you didn't want to know about snow and that's why you moved to Texas, but I just gave you a little bit of a preview of what else is going on in the world. I have to say I was very pleased stepping off the airplane, not having to wear my coat. But before I left, I took a few videos of some of the things I was doing with the horses, and I just thought I would share those with you. This is Caesar demonstrating blinky eyes, which means that I can give him a treat for doing nothing. This is Caesar practicing Spanish walk. I've seen that since I started teaching it, it's really helped him understand how to do his leads. So pick up the right and the left lead, especially when in the saddle, but when it's done well, so there's no harm to their joints. Here I'm practicing lead changes from zone 1, and I hope to show you how to start teaching that to your horse this weekend. You can really see in the video that lead changes are very much a sideways maneuver, and the better the horse goes sideways, the easier it will be for them to shift their weight to that new inside hind leg. There's a herd of 6 horses that I play with, and I like to use putting them out into their pen as an opportunity to get them to be polite, and I try to call them by their names so they really understand whose turn it is. And by separating one off, the furthest one to the right is the one that gets to go through the door, and the other ones have to wait, so they know they have to get their turn. And I'm really proud of them because they've learned to not rush through there and let me play the friendly game as they're going by through the door. Here's an idea. Instead of just giving your horse a cookie, see if you can give them one in lateral flexion, longitudinal flexion, and vertical flexion, and even ask them to hold it. So here's a way to start playing with posture on the circle. The easiest way is just to walk beside your horse and ask for the porcupine game, asking him to lower his head. And then you can take that, and when you ask him to lower his head with your hand, see if you can tap him under the belly. So eventually you can just tap him under the belly and he's going to lower his head. You can progress that to then being able to push out his different zones. So coming around the corner, I'm going to start pushing on his shoulder and that's going to be the start of a shoulder in for riding. I can push on his belly, and that's going to be the start of my leg yield. The next stage of that is progressing to the driving game. It's actually asking him to do a little bit of a sideways on the circle by asking him to step further with his inside left hind leg. When he does that, he's going to lower his head. I just wanted you to see my body position for the canter. We'll practice this in the clinic, but I emphasized the position this whole time. I'm lifting my inside hand up rather than just pointing forward because I'm asking him to shift his weight back to his hindquarters. And I'm mimicking the same weight position that I want him to have with my body. My weight's on my hindquarters, and I'm lifting my front hand up. I'll just share a little thought with you that you can practice at home before you even go see your horse. And this has to do with the phases of turning. And it's not just the phases of turning your horse, but I want you to think about it's the phases of doing everything. So when you're riding your horse and you're going to take a turn, your phases are eyes, belly button, leg, and then your rein, and then support with your stick. And I would like you to think about that in everything that you do. Rather than just reaching for your keys, I want you to think, okay, I'm going to focus on my keys, eyes. And sometimes eyes is not to look, but also just a picture. Have a really clear picture in your mind of what you want your horse to do. And then focus where it is exactly you want them to look. So that's what eyes mean to me. Belly button. So I've got the picture clear in my head, and now I'm going to take it into my core. I'm going to breathe deep into my core. I'm going to fill my whole body with energy. Focus on what I want. Belly button. Leg. I'm going to start in that direction. Put my weight in that direction. And then finally reach for it with my hand, or reach for it with my rein. Follow through. So those are the phases, and strangely enough, I want you to practice when you open a door or when you reach for something on the counter. Rather than just stumbling and reaching for that object, I want you to think eyes, belly button, leg, keys. So simple things like that. How you do anything is how you do everything, like Pat says, and you can do that as a preview to practicing for the clinic. I'm going to tell you a little story about me that might help you this weekend. I was lucky enough growing up that my mother was the one who hosted all of the clinicians at her house while I was growing up. So the clinicians came for our local riding club, and she would volunteer that they stay at the house, and she would feed them and transport them. And I got to eat breakfast with them every morning. So our riding club was an English jumping club, and we'd have dressage instructors, and we'd have different event instructors, and show jumping instructors would come. And usually about once a month. And often it was a different one every time. And I would start to get frustrated because I wanted to learn, but the person that came this time would tell me the exact opposite thing that the person that came the last time. And so I would go complain to my mom later, and I'd say, Mom, this person is telling me this opposite thing than the last person that was here. Who should I believe? It's just frustrating. I don't know who to believe. And my mother, a brilliant lady, had a brilliant answer. She said, well, why don't you just ask them? No, I can't ask them. That would be insulting. I would feel like I'm insulting their intelligence to question what they were telling me. But after complaining a lot, finally I got up the nerve to start asking those questions. And that's actually when I really started learning, because I realized that even though they were telling me different things, they were all trying to get me to the same goal, which was to be more in harmony with my horse. And that if one instructor would tell me one thing, let's say I needed my horse to go faster, and then the next instructor would come and say, oh, you really need to slow your horse down. I realized that I'd practiced so much getting my horse to go faster that I'd gone right through the balancing point of perfect. Perfect somewhere between if he goes too fast and if he goes too slow. So, really, I had been successful and I had achieved something. Because if they came and they told me the same thing over and over again, that means I wasn't making any improvement. When you learn something, it's like a teeter-totter, right? And when it's perfect, it's balanced. It's at equilibrium. You're balancing forward, backward, left, right, up, and down. And pretty soon you're trying to get the timing of that so particular, so infinite that you can barely tell. It's like atoms wiggling. But in the beginning, maybe you don't know what it feels like. And so you have to take the teeter-totter and rock it back and forth until you understand what that feeling is like. What does it feel like when a horse goes fast? What does it feel like when they go slow? What does it feel like when their weight is on their hindquarters, on their front end? But you're going to be passing through perfect. And the more that you pass through perfect, the easier it is to get there again and again. So if you come up with some questions, if you're having that feeling like, oh, she's telling me the opposite, or why is she telling me this? It seems to contradict what I'm thinking, what I've learned. Please ask me. I would be more than happy. I've had lots of frustrating conversations with myself of how does Pirelli fit with dressage, or how does it fit with my reining or jumping. I've gone through a lot of that, and I'd be more than happy to at least help you, fill you in on what I've discovered. So again, I look forward to meeting you. Thank you.